Bucks, we know, have been handling the Celtics anyway, but they're going to get even more help. Coach Mike Budenholzer says guard Malcolm Brogdon, who's been out since March 15th with a plantar fascia tear, is expected to play tonight in Game 5. Former Rookie of the Year averaged 15.6 points per game this season. He'll help from behind the arc as well, where he shoots nearly 43%.
Drama at the Oakland Coliseum.
I told these guys that, I was going to start picking them up, especially in this park. Got to be aggressive. You want them to put the ball in play. I trust my defense.
Mike Fiers, for the second time in his career, has thrown a no-hitter.
All right, so when I say no, you think no-hitter. You think celebration. You think what an amazing accomplishment. And yes, it is all of those things described. However, what about that man on fire? Forgive the bad joke here, but Mike Fiers has done it again. His latest no-hitter makes it 300 in all of baseball. Here's Tim Kirkchin with where it all began.
Swing and a miss. He did it. He did it. Mike Fiers, for the second time in his career, has thrown a no-hitter.
That makes 300 no-hitters in MLB history. We've come a long way from the first one when George Washington Bradley of the Brown Stockings no-hit the Hartford Dark Blues on July 15, 1876 at Grand Avenue Park in St. Louis, shortly after the nation's 100th birthday. Roughly 19,000 days later, Hall of Famer Carl Hubbell no-hit the Pittsburgh Pirates at the Polo Grounds for the 100th no-hitter in MLB history. It was King Carl's only career no-hitter. We had to wait only 17,554 days for the 200th no-no in MLB history. Dennis Eckersley struck out 12 California Angels in his no-no on May 30th, 1977. And now, just over 15,000 days since number 200, we get number 300. Nolan Ryan threw 7 of these no-hitters.
That's it. Number 7 is in the books. The remarkable Ryan has done it again.
3 more than the next closest pitcher in MLB history. Sandy Koufax had 4 in his Hall of Fame career. Speaking of the Dodgers, they threw the bulk of the no-nos, 22 in fact, 4 more than any other franchise.
Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
In terms of rarity, a no-hitter is pretty common as far as popular feats go. Just 23 of the 300 no-hitters have been perfect games.
A no-hitter, a perfect game in a World Series.
Perfection, Randy Johnson, a perfect game.
Felix Hernandez pops his arm to the air. The first perfect game in Seattle Mariners history.
But unassisted triple plays and 4 homer games are even rarer, checking in at 15 and 18 occurrences, respectively. But there's nothing quite like a no-hitter, and we'll all remember the 300th.
All right, so since 2010, let's get that out, there have been 37 no-hitters, more than any other decade in the history of baseball. And those 37 have come from 28 different pitchers, tied with the 1960s for the most in a decade in baseball history as well.
Our MLB insider, Buster Olney, joining us now. Buster, Bob Melvin had to make a really tough decision last night. Do you let your guy chase the no-hitter or save his arm from throwing too many pitches? Take us through how he handled that.
Yeah, Dave, I thought he absolutely did a spectacular job with this last night. Here's the problem. Mike Fiers, through 7 innings, had thrown a lot of pitches, 108, and you know that typically these days you don't see pitchers go over 115, over 120. So as Oakland was batting in the bottom of the 7th inning, he went to Mike Fiers and said, look, if you let a guy on base, if you walk a guy, I'm pulling you out of the game to protect you. And so Fiers knew that going out for the 8th inning. Lo and behold, needs only 9 pitches to get through the 8th, and then 14 pitches to get through that 9th inning. Bob Melvin balancing correctly, giving a veteran player an opportunity to have a milestone moment and trying to protect the player. He did a great job.
So no margin for error for Fiers. He had to go 1-2-3, 1-2-3. He did it, 131 pitches, and he gets his second career no-no. Let's go to Dallas Keuchel. Guy has not thrown a no-hitter, but he does have a Cy Young, really good left-hander, a 31-year-old, unsigned to date. Why is this taking so long for him to get a deal?
David, because of the initial ask from his agent, Scott Boras. In the fall, when free agency began, what Scott conveyed to teams was he was looking for a deal of 6 or 7 years for Dallas Keuchel at $25 to $30 million per year. Max Scherzer territory, David Price territory. So a lot of the teams that had interest in Keuchel, well, they moved on and they went to the plan Bs and plan Cs. And so as the winter played out and none of those offers emerged, Dallas Keuchel was unemployed, and he remains unemployed. The last offer that I know of that went to him was from the Houston Astros, either 2 years at $24 million total or 1 year at $15 million, far from what Scott was looking for in the fall. It could make sense for him to wait to get past the draft because then he won't be tied to draft pick compensation. But still, and Dallas is a great guy. If I were a close friend, I'd say, Dallas, you got to pitch. You might want to pick a team, get on the mound as soon as possible to rebuild your value.
Yeah, he says people have been calling him the Le'Veon Bell of baseball. He's just chilling in Newport Beach, waiting for that right offer to come in. We'll see if that happens. Buster Olney giving us the latest on all that.
Not a bad gig if you can chill in Newport Beach. Meanwhile, it's already that time. Fantasy prep, you ready? Let's look at quarterback rankings today, and the easy one to start with is Mahomes, who outscored the number 2 quarterback by 62 points last year. Gosh, that kid I guess he was MVP, so it makes sense, does it not? It's a tight group after Mahomes. Deshaun Watson coming in second. Watson finished as the number 4 quarterback in fantasy last year, despite OL issues. You need some help down there, guys. And Andrew Luck comes in third, a healthy Luck. In more ways than one, threw 39 touchdowns last season and has a strong offensive line with the Colts adding more receiving weapons this season. So he should, offseason that is, should be great. Aaron Rodgers comes in at number 4, enters 2019 in a new system, new coach. Rodgers should be healthy after knee issues last year and ready to go. And Matt Ryan is the number 5 quarterback. He quietly was number 2 quarterback in fantasy last year with 4,900 passing yards and 35 touchdowns. That was quiet. So let's move on, guys. Baker Mayfield. Now, this is interesting here. Leads quarterbacks 6 through 15 after the Browns added Odell Beckham Jr. He's followed by Cam Newton, Drew Brees. This is disrespectful to my man. 2 names outside the top 15. Tom Brady at 16. He's going to be motivated by that. And Kyler Murray, who's yet to snap, comes in at 18. So right now, we got Matthew Berry and Daniel Dobb from the Fantasy Show on how high to target Patrick Mahomes. Let's listen.
A star is born in the NFL.
Looks one way, zings it another.
Patrick Mahomes with Mahomes magic.
We are watching something special.
All right, Matthew. Patrick Mahomes. Most fantasy points ever by a quarterback last season. But the potential loss of Tyreek Hill and a tough schedule has led to some real discussion at our ranking summit about whether there's still a gap between Mahomes and the next tier of quarterbacks. Where do you stand?
Look, I've long said it. Wait on a quarterback in your fantasy draft. There's just so much depth at the position.
You have said that, Matthew. So it's confirmed. Matthew Berry is down on Patrick Mahomes in 2019.
No. Stop it, Daniel. I'm not. Please. The gap between Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the quarterbacks is just so big in fantasy football. Yes, even if he's without Tyreek Hill. Remember, Mahomes had 17.5% more fantasy points than the next closest quarterback in fantasy last year.
5,000 yards passing, 50 touchdowns.
If you took 15 touchdowns away from Mahomes' total last year, he still would have been the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Yes, his numbers may regress, but in that plug-and-play, pass-happy, fantasy-friendly Andy Reid offense, Mahomes is not going to regress enough for the rest of the field to catch him. He's still my number 1 quarterback this year.
Showtime Mahomes.
Can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
Well, you've convinced me, Matthew Berry. So tell us, where are you taking Patrick Mahomes?
I have him as my 19th ranked player overall heading into this year. Basically a late second-round pick.
A perfect throw. Patrick Mahomes on fire.
Look, he's a rock star. In many leagues, this is a guy that's going to go as early as the first round. I know I say wait on quarterback, but if you wind up with Patrick Mahomes on your team, I don't hate that.
And I don't hate you, Matthew.
Aw, thanks, Daniel.
This is where you say you don't hate me either.
No, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm all set. You can catch 2 episodes of the Fantasy Show with Barry and Doc, breaking down ESPN rankings for fantasy on ESPN Plus, and tomorrow on SportsCenter. You guys got to check out this retirement. Grady's, what is his name? Gronk. I'm confusing the two. He's gone, and what it means for tight end rankings. Great.
Unbelievable! Are you kidding me? It might be the play of the year. Oh my goodness! Look out! Deep three. Oh!
Sensational! That's their DNA! SportsCenter Top 10.